Every comparison of self-hosted email servers starts the same way. Install in 10 minutes, own your data, save money. What nobody mentions is that the install is the easy part. The hard part is that your server's reputation starts at zero. If your hosting provider's address block has ever been used to send spam, every message you send lands in junk, regardless of how perfectly your server is configured. That is not a software problem. No comparison video can fix it. 3 tools keep appearing in the same threads and the same recommendation lists. One of them takes over your entire domain name system the moment you set it up. One needs 6 GB of memory before it will even start properly. And one deliberately ships without a calendar, without contacts, and without mobile sync, and calls that a feature rather than a limitation. Mail-in-a-Box was created in 2013 by Joshua Taubera, a Princeton psychology graduate, turned University of Pennsylvania linguistics researcher, turned civic technology activist. He is simultaneously the creator of one of the longest-running government transparency websites, the author of a book on open government data, and currently head of product development at a construction software company. The email server is a side project. It has been a side project for over 12 years. He still maintains it. The philosophy is written into the project documentation in plain language. The goal is, and this is almost a direct quote, not to make something customizable by power users. That is an extraordinary statement for an open source project. Most tools compete on flexibility. Mail-in-a-Box competes on the opposite. You run a single command on a fresh server running one specific version of one specific operating system. It installs everything, configures everything, and within 30 minutes you have working email with automatic encryption certificates, spam filtering, webmail through Roundcube, and calendar and contact synchronization through Nextcloud. The most distinctive feature is also the most controversial. When you set it up normally, you point your domain's name servers to the box itself. It then runs your entire domain name system. Every authentication record, every mail exchange record, every security policy is generated and maintained automatically. That is why the setup takes 30 minutes instead of 3 hours. The trade-off is that your email server is also your name server. If the machine goes down, you do not just lose email. You lose name resolution for your entire domain, which means your website disappears too. The resource requirements are the lightest of the 3 by a wide margin. The official minimum is 512 megabytes of memory, though in practice, modern operating system overhead pushes the realistic floor to about 1 gigabyte. It does not use containers. Everything installs directly onto the operating system. One machine, one disk, one set of processes. There is no container networking to debug and no compose file to maintain, but there is also no isolation between components. Updates to the operating system can affect the mail stack in ways that containerized tools avoid. For a single person or a small household wanting to own their email without becoming a systems administrator, Mail-in-a-Box removes more complexity than anything else available. The limitation is that it removes complexity by removing choice, and for anyone who eventually needs that choice back, the migration path out is not simple. Mailcow started as a management layer for the standard open source email stack and evolved into something closer to a self-hosted Exchange server in a container compose file. It is now owned and maintained by a registered German company called the Infrastructure Company, which also runs a commercial managed hosting service under the ServerCow brand. That commercial incentive matters. It means the project has a business reason to stay maintained, which is not something the other 2 can claim in the same way. The feature set is the broadest of the 3 by a significant margin. Full groupware through a component that handles email, calendar, contacts, and mobile synchronization natively. No additional software required for any of those. Domain administrators can be delegated control of their own mailboxes without touching the main admin panel. Identity provider integration works with existing directory services and single sign-on systems. The spam filter runs a modern engine with a full web dashboard where you can train it, adjust thresholds, and review scoring without opening a terminal. And since January 2026, per-user controls for mobile sync and shared address book access give administrators granular control that the other 2 tools simply do not offer. The cost is memory. The official recommendation for a private installation is 6 GB plus swap, 8 GB for 5 to 10 users. You can run it on 4 if you disable the antivirus scanner, and the absolute minimum is 2.5 GB with the antivirus automatically turned off at that threshold. For context, Mail in a Box runs comfortably on 1 GB. The difference is not waste. It is the groupware component, the database, the caching layer, the internal resolver, the health monitoring, and roughly 15 containers running simultaneously at any given time. The project made a notable decision in January 2025 by permanently removing its Nextcloud. Was that the specific server-side modules Nextcloud required created a maintenance burden that was not justified by the benefit. Mailcow is becoming more opinionated over time, not less. Monthly releases follow a naming convention that is worth mentioning because it tells you something about the project's personality. Every release is named after a cow pun on the month. The official description of the project on its code repository is a cow emoji plus a whale emoji equals a heart. This is a real commercial product backed by a German limited liability company that publishes security advisories and cow puns in the same changelog. For anyone replacing a traditional hosted email service across multiple domains with dozens or hundreds of mailboxes, it is the only self-hosted option that genuinely competes on features rather than just on principle. Mailu takes the opposite position to Mailcow on almost every design decision. The name comes from combining the word mail with the French word for isolated island, and that isolation is the entire philosophy. It handles email, it does not handle calendars, it does not handle contacts, it does not bundle mobile synchronization. The creators describe this explicitly as a feature rather than a gap, stating that the project avoids shipping proprietary software or unrelated features often found in popular groupware. If you want calendar and contact sync, you integrate a separate tool yourself. The project started under a different name and was renamed when the developers decided to take it in a more serious direction. It is community-driven, with no single corporate backer, released under a more permissive license than Mailcow, and maintained by contributors rather than a funded company. The practical consequence is that there is no commercial support option from the project itself. Community help lives on a chat platform, and a demo server runs on the project website for testing. The technical differentiator is efficiency. Where Mailcow runs 15 containers and needs 6 GB of memory to be comfortable, Mailu runs leaner with a practical minimum of 1 to 2 GB. It uses the same modern spam filter engine as Mailcow, but without the database server, without the groupware component, and without the caching and monitoring layers that drive Mailcow's resource appetite. For the same server hardware, Mailu leaves more headroom for other services. The security approach is arguably the most aggressive of the three. It bundles a tool specifically designed to detect malicious macros in Office document attachments before they reach the inbox, and by default it blocks macro-containing documents entirely. A separate hardening extension patches known vulnerabilities in the server-side scripting layer. Neither Mail in a Box nor Mailcow ships anything equivalent to either of these out of the box. The other unique distinction is container orchestration support. Mailu is the only one of the three with an official deployment chart for running on cluster infrastructure. Mailcow has community-created alternatives, but does not officially support them. Mail in a Box does not use containers at all. For teams already running containerized infrastructure at scale and wanting email as another managed service within that environment, Mailu is the only option that fits without workarounds. The gap is everything outside of email itself. No mobile sync means mobile clients need manual configuration rather than the automatic discovery that Mailcow provides. No built-in calendar means another service to run, another backup to manage, and another point of failure in your stack. Mailu is the lightest and the leanest precisely because it does the least, and whether that is the right trade depends entirely on whether you need what it chose to leave out. Before choosing any of these three tools, check your hosting provider's address reputation against the major block lists. If the address block is dirty, it does not matter which tool you run, your messages will land in spam and you will spend weeks requesting removal from lists that may never respond. This is the single most common reason self-hosted email fails, and it has nothing to do with the software. If the address is clean and you want the simplest possible path to working email for yourself or a small group, Mail in a Box eliminates more decisions than anything else available. One command, one server, automatic security configuration, built-in calendar and contacts through Nextcloud, and memory requirements low enough to run on the cheapest tier of most hosting providers. Accept that it controls your name system, accept that customization is deliberately limited, and you get a mail server maintained by one person for over 12 years that does exactly what it promises. If you need mobile synchronization that works automatically, domain delegation for multiple organizations, identity provider integration, or anything resembling a full groupware environment, Mailcow is the only self-hosted option that delivers all of those without bolting on additional software. It is backed by a company with a commercial interest in keeping it maintained, and the feature set genuinely competes with traditional hosted email services. Budget for 6 GB of memory minimum. Understand that 15 containers running simultaneously is the baseline, and it will do more out of the box than either alternative. If you want containerized email without the groupware weight, Mailu gives you the core mail stack at a fraction of the resource cost. It is the only option with official cluster orchestration support, the most aggressive attachment security handling of the three, and a deliberately narrow scope that keeps the attack surface small. Bring your own calendar and contact solution, and you get a mail server that does one job cleanly. All three share the same uncomfortable truth. Your email reputation is built over months and destroyed in hours. Once your users, your domain records, and your delivery history are tied to a platform, migrating to a different one means rebuilding that reputation from scratch. The install takes 30 minutes. The commitment lasts years. Every choice is a trade-off. At least now you know what you're trading.